right, we are back with another live stream. They announced that Kayleigh McEnany was going to be having a live press conference, and I figured since we had the events of yesterday where we were attacked by domestic terrorists at the Capitol building, where several people did die. One of them was shot in the action of her act of sedition and treason against this country. You know, I've been referring to her as terrorist Barbie. But yeah, I'm gonna go live with this, and we're gonna see what she has to say. And I'm gonna, for a brief second, you know, share this on social media. So if I'm not talking for a few seconds, that's why I'm sharing it to social media as we speak. Let's see. So press sec. Let's see. Come on. Press sec is about to go live with a press conference. Join me on my live stream on YouTube. There we go. Copy, paste, and then share it to Facebook as well. And get a, so you can, if you follow me on, while I'm waiting for that to load, Liberal Dan on Facebook, facebook.com/Liberal Dan, or at Liberal Dan Radio on Twitter. Is the place where you can follow me there. I also have a TikTok, Liberal Dan Radio on TikTok. If you want to support the show, it's patreon.com/Liberal Dan, as can be seen on the screen. Or you can go to patreon.liberaldan.com. I made it easy as well for you to do that. If you do like the content on this channel, I request that you please like and share the videos that you watch, and also to go ahead and subscribe to the channel so that we can potentially get this channel monetized, and as such, hopefully be able to get more content. I can focus on this instead of other things. Facebook is taking a bajillion years to load. I did improve my internet, fortunately, which, let's see, yeah. So I was able to change my internet setup at my house, and so I'm having no dropped frames, which is nice. You used to get dropped frames all the time. It was not very nice. Oh, why is this not loading? But here she comes in as I'm trying to share this. What's she gonna say in response to...
I am here to deliver this message on behalf of the entire White House.
The entire White House,
Let me be clear.
Huh? Okay.
The violence we saw yesterday at our nation's capital
was encouraged by President Trump,
reprehensible, and antithetical to the American way.
But it was encouraged by President Trump.
We condemn it, the President and this administration, in the strongest possible terms.
But he said he loves them, so that's not the strongest possible terms.
And those that broke the law should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Can agree on that.
I stood here at this podium the day after a historic church burned amid violent riots, and I said this: the First Amendment guarantees the right of the people to peaceably assemble. What we saw last night in Washington and across the country was not that, end quote. Make no mistake, what we saw yesterday afternoon in the halls of our Capitol likewise was not that. We grieve for the loss of life and those injured, and we hold them in our prayers and close to our hearts at this time. We thank our valiant law enforcement officers who are true American heroes.
Okay.
What we saw yesterday was a group of violent rioters
domestic
undermining
terrorists.
The legitimate First Amendment rights of the many thousands who came to
if you march with domestic terrorists and you assemble with domestic terrorists, you're also a domestic terrorist.
Those who violently besieged our
Why
Capitol
won't they use the term domestic terrorists?
Of everything this administration stands for.
Except for the fact that he encouraged them to protest and
of our
march
administration
on the
is
Capitol.
the idea that all citizens have the right to live in safety, peace, and freedom.
Unless Donald Trump wants to make
Those who are working in this building
photo op
working to
by
ensure
church,
an orderly
then he's going to
transition
gas
of power.
peaceful demonstrators.
Now it is time for America to unite.
But no gas was used
to
against
come
these
together
people.
To reject the violence that we have seen. We are one American people under God. Thank you very much.
Is that it? That's her press conference. In and out. That was what I would like to call a quickie. And just as quickies typically tend to be, not very satisfying for all involved. OMG, that was terrible. I mean, no statements to the press, no questions from the press, just a brief statement that was basically a bunch of malarkey. That was the biggest pile of, no, she's probably given much bigger turds, and as it pertains to the words that she gives as to the press. But no, clearly not. And this is, I guess maybe will also be a fat man rant. I don't know. Maybe I'll edit some of this and turn it into a fat man rant. I don't know. But there was a bit of a rant on my TikTok channel that you could go and check that out on Liberal Dan Radio on TikTok, where basically I was ranting about specifically about terrorist Barbie and how she played stupid games and she got the stupid prize. Now, if this event was done by black people, if it was black people trying to storm the Capitol over their perceived injustices. Now, the difference between the perceived injustices of Black Lives Matter and the perceived injustices of Al-Qaeda or the Ku Klux Klan, all C's, because they love cuckoldry for whatever reason, and they try to do a coup, and, well, it's still a Klan. So the Ku Klux Klan, the difference between those people's harm that they feel needs to be redressed and the harm that Black Lives Matter wants to be redressed is the fact that the one being talked about and protested about when it comes to Black Lives Matter is a legitimate one and not a made-up fantasy world created by President Trump. And let's be clear. People are trying to say that this, terrorist Barbie, for example, that her involvement was because Trump did. And yes, Donald Trump and the Republicans created this mess. They fed these people a load of lies. And Donald Trump said in the 2016 campaign that he loved the poorly educated, and he's able to manipulate and take advantage of the poorly educated. However, that does not take away from the responsibility of individuals when they hear garbage to reject the garbage. It's not like a computer program, garbage in, garbage out. No, you have a responsibility as a person with a brain that works. And I know I'm being giving with some of these people with that comment, but you have a responsibility when you hear information about individuals, and you hear information that this is a scam, this is a fraudulent election, this was stolen from whatever. You have the responsibility to be a responsible adult and to do, your own research on that and to verify that what's being said is correct. And there's plenty of information out there, including coming from Donald Trump's own legal team in the statements that they make to the courts that this was not fraud, that this election was not fraudulent, that people were not out there trying to perform an illegitimate election in violation of the election law. There was, in court, they had to say those things, because if they didn't say those things, they would probably lose their license to practice law, and that's what they most care about. But to the public, they continued on with the farce that this was a scam against the American people and that this election was stolen and that Donald Trump somehow rightfully won. He did not. He lost miserably. And he lost miserably despite the fact that he tried to commit election fraud by slowing down the post office and by trying to make it seem like the people who were trying to send out ballots requests, unsolicited ballot request forms, that was somehow an example of voter fraud or election fraud. No. The election fraud took place when Donald Trump slowed down the elections, when people in various states tried to go ahead, as I've discussed in my GOP coup series, in various states sought to disenfranchise voters, especially black voters. And it is a credit to black voters, especially black women voters, in Georgia. Thank y'all. Y'all are our heroes and are deserving of so much more than what we give y'all. Thank y'all. Despite the efforts of, the Georgia Republican Party, the Georgia legislature, the Georgia Secretary of State, and the Georgia governor in trying to make sure that black people can't vote, they came out in overwhelming force and said a big F you to Trump, to Kemp, to everybody else. And it got to the point where there was nothing that Kemp or the rest of the Georgia government that was run by Republicans could do. They were like, look, they overwhelmed the system that we tried to put up to prevent them from being able to cast legitimate ballots, and they came out and they helped put Biden in office, and they helped flip the Senate blue. So they are our heroes. But this is not that. This is in going. They went against the fraud that was trying to be perpetuated by Donald Trump. And this is pretty much, when Donald Trump is committing an act of fraud, he's going to be claiming that other people are the ones committing the act of fraud because he wants to say, oh, look over there. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. So we're going to be clear on this. The only fraud that took place in this election was the one that was perpetuated by Donald Trump. I mean, there was some low-level fraud, like there was the guy in Pennsylvania who used his mother's information to cast another ballot for Donald Trump. And there may have been individual circumstances or irregularities where, maybe one person or so that, might have acted in violation of the election law. But it wasn't a large plot against the government. Why would Kemp want Joe Biden president? Kemp did not want Joe Biden to be president. Just to be clear. Kemp wanted Donald Trump to continue to be president, but he was unable to deliver that. And Donald Trump views that as disloyal, even if these people won't put their necks on the line, literally or figuratively, and seek to protect, his second term in office, which isn't going to happen. So let's be clear. Donald Trump and the Republicans, in trying to claim that there's all this election fraud, and I don't know if this is a true statement or not, but this is a rumor, but I heard that as the people in the Capitol were evacuating the Senate, Mitt Romney allegedly turned to Ted Cruz and you caused this. You asked for this. This is what you get. Because you continue to push this farce on the American people that the election was stolen from Donald Trump and from the Republicans. They did this. They caused this. And what was even worse is, look, some of the Republicans grew some sort of a conscience after the terrorist attack by domestic terrorists at the Capitol building. Some of these Republicans, like Loeffler from Georgia, said, you know what, I'm not going to continue with this. We are not going to allow a continued challenge. I'm not going to sign my name to this. Despite all that, they still had Republicans who were willing to challenge the results in Pennsylvania, despite the bad action, despite the fact that they know that this farce that they're trying to push is going to continue to encourage these domestic terrorists, these enemies of the Republic, these people who are treasonous and committing acts of sedition. These people are being encouraged by that. And again, they have the responsibility of acting on themselves, but these people also have the responsibility they're elected leaders. They have the responsibility to lead. Ted Cruz wanted to be president of the United States, and he has proven himself to have zero spine or integrity. He stood up in the 2016 election and was like, you should vote your conscience. And it was a bold maneuver on his part in 2016 after Donald Trump insulted his family, said, what he called his mom ugly, I believe, and then said that his dad had something to do with the Kennedy assassination. He took a stand, and he got booed by some at the convention when he did that. 4 years later, Ted Cruz is Donald Trump's taint cleaner. He has no spine, no backbone, no integrity, no anything. And he is willing to push this continued farce, despite the fact that his continuation in doing so is going to make it so that more people are going to try and act badly and put other people in harm's way. I'm only going to say that it's good that it was only the member of the Al-Qaeda folks, the domestic terrorists, I believe were the only people who died. Maybe I might be right. If I'm wrong about that, please correct me. Because if they would have killed other people, then again more blood would have been on not only the hands of these domestic terrorists, but on the hands of the people that are encouraging them. Got to the point where the other senator, who's again name I completely forget it, I really don't want to even remember his name. But one of the, I think of the Missouri Republican Party who backed his election said that backing him, one of these people who are still backing Trump and Trump's false claims, he's today said that backing that senator was the worst mistake of his political career. Worst mistake he's ever made in his life. Why? Because we are continuing to see these people encourage bad behavior on the part. You are aiding and abetting domestic terrorists by continuing this push that there is somehow fraud that took place in the middle of the election. And the argument that they'll make, the argument that they'll say that, oh well, if the Democrats have nothing to worry about, right? You know, if there's no fraud, in there, there's nothing to worry about. Why not do it? Well, first of all, that argument wasn't good enough for you during the impeachment trial. Y'all were like, well, this is just a waste of resources. Y'all didn't make that argument about the Mueller report. You just said that this is a waste of resources. So, A, you're hypocritical on that, because you saying that now and not saying that and being completely opposite 100 against that before is just sheer hypocrisy. But I would then throw in this particular case, when there's been 60 court cases that the Donald Trump campaign has lost, there is only very few where there were victories, and I think most of them were before the election, like the Wisconsin challenge, where a federal judge said, hey, we're going to allow late ballots to come in, and the Supreme Court said, nope, sorry, you can't do that. But now with the Pennsylvania ruling, a little bit different, because I think the Pennsylvania ruling was because it was the state Supreme Court that ruled that, and the state Supreme Court has the ability to do that, and, you know, to determine what the law says, and that's much different than a federal court saying what a state law says. Two different things. But, you know, there was the 60 cases or so after the lawsuit, after the election, 60 lawsuits where the Trump administration lost. Not only did they lose, but they had to admit that there was no fraud in the cases to begin with. So you have the evidence. There's no reason to waste any more time on this except for bashing the people who are continuing this farce, bashing the people that are continuing this false narrative that somehow this election was stolen from Donald Trump. Donald Trump, you know how Donald Trump could have won this election? If he would have reacted to the COVID-19 crisis properly. I wouldn't have voted for him still, but he may very well have won had he not dropped the ball, had he not downplayed the virus, had he not failed in many aspects of the complaint, had he not, I mean, he would have had better traction on his travel ban had he just banned all travel and not banned travel specifically from one country. And sure, that's the country where COVID-19 started from, China. But had he not earlier in his, when he was campaigning for president, said that he wanted to ban all Muslims from entering this country until we figured out what was going on, had he not said that he wanted to prohibit travel between Mexico by putting up the giant wall because Mexico was sending rapists and murderers to this country, had he not revealed himself to be a bigot on those travel bans and travel restrictions, maybe people would have given him the opportunity to make the point that this travel ban from China was for the health and safety of the country and not, as we all assumed, just another bigoted attempt to be bigoted by a bigot. But in reality, the fact is that it was already here. The virus was already here earlier. So the travel ban did nothing. At the time, maybe we thought it was doing something. It did nothing. It was already here. People already had it. So, and when the CDC said, look, there are better ways to react to a virus than this travel ban, like by, doing contact tracing and stuff like that, Donald Trump didn't want to have anything to do with that. Donald Trump specifically admitted to slowing down testing because if you test more, you have more cases. And that more testing was bad, as he said in the Axios interview. Like, no expert is going to say that more testing is bad. But it would have been bad for him in his mind because he would have said, oh, well, we have more numbers, and that's going to make me look bad if we show more numbers. But here's the thing. Had we shown more numbers and then showed the number of deaths as being the same, then it might have looked less deadly. Had we done more testing, we might have been able to only shut down certain segments of the country surgically instead of having to do greater shutdowns nationwide. So we would have been able to handle this and treat this, and there would have been less of an impact on the economy by being able to do surgical shutdowns and not a blanket shutdown. It would have been much better, and we might have had, more um, more people saved, more lives saved, better job from the therapeutics, better treatment of the virus, and better restriction of the virus spreading, and as such, less deaths. But guess what? That's not what we had. So Donald Trump screwed himself, and he made it so that he would not be able to win. So, but he refused. He will never admit that he lost. Even in the statement last night that came out from the White House, now I'm surprised the press secretary McEnany didn't mention. There was a statement made by the White House that said that there would be an orderly transition of power. He didn't say peaceful. He said orderly, but he still insists that he believes that he won and that the election was stolen from him. This guy's so stupid. He thought he won California in 2016. There's no way that he won California in 2016. Oh, there was 3 million illegal ballots. Shut up. It's ridiculous. But his continued insistence on claiming that there was fraud in this election is going to continue to push these people to act the way they're going. He's going to give them encouragement. He's giving them aid and comfort by not only giving them the information that is going to make them be like, yeah, I was robbed, and we need to take further action. But he also says that he loves them. Now, why would you, if I was president and people who claim to support me said that they wanted to, that they were going to continue doing these things, I would tell them to get home. And I wouldn't tell them that I love them. That's just encouraging them. That's giving them aid and comfort. And there's a specific reason why I'm saying that he's giving them aid and comfort. Because these people, these domestic terrorists, the Ku Klux Klan, are enemies of the state. And he is giving them aid and comfort. And doing that is treasonous. And should be grounds for removal. Somebody should be using the 25th Amendment. I mean, it might be a little silly to file articles of impeachment now, except for the fact that if the Senate were to now convict, which I have no hope that they're going to do, I have no belief in my mind that the Senate would vote to convict this time. But if they did, the Senate would then be able to say, you can't be president again. Because you can do that. They can determine whether or not this person can serve in any sort of office of public trust if convicted on the articles of impeachment. That is a power that the Senate has in an impeachment process. Now, do I believe it'll happen? No. I don't believe there are enough GOP senators that would go ahead and vote to convict on the articles of impeachment. I don't think it would happen. Now, I would want to say that they could do it and say this is an emergency, it needs to be done now, especially if they won't do the 25th Amendment. But, it might be important to do it just to keep him from being able to run again. And say, look, this person is so unhinged, this person is such a traitor to this country by aiding and abetting and encouraging and giving aid and comfort to these domestic terrorists that we cannot allow him to become president ever again. And that power rests with the Senate if articles of impeachment are filed and passed by the House. Do I think it's going to happen? Obviously not. I don't have faith that enough Republicans exist to do that. Now, some of these Republicans may very well have voted against the challenge in the Senate, because when the Senate voted on the challenge, there was more than enough to overcome any filibuster or any other item that might have happened if the filibuster was a real thing. But enough people in the Senate were like, look, this is ridiculous. Joe Biden won. Just stop it. But do I believe enough of those GOP senators who came on board to vote and not challenge the electoral votes from Pennsylvania, do I believe enough of them would stay on board and vote to convict on articles of impeachment this time? I wouldn't hold my breath. I would not hold my breath on that at all. So anyway, most of this live stream response is just me rambling about that and ranting about the domestic terrorists and how this White House is full of crap when they try and say that, well, we oppose it. No, you're not opposing it. You didn't send tear gas to go disperse that crowd. You didn't send law enforcement to go deal with that crowd. You sent law enforcement to go deal with a peacefully protesting crowd just because you wanted to have a photo op. So you've shown your hand. You've shown who the enemy is. Donald Trump is an enemy to the state. Simple as that. Patriotic Americans would do what would be needed to do legally and remove him from office via the 25th Amendment or via impeachment process. But I don't think we have enough patriots left in the Republican Party. The Republican Party is welcome to prove me wrong. You are welcome to prove me wrong. And if you do prove me wrong, I will say I was wrong. Because that's what I do. That's what having integrity is about. I need to set the example for my kids and show them that if you're proven to be wrong, that you need to admit that you are wrong. But there's not enough people like that in leadership positions in the Republican Party, in my opinion at this point. I welcome them to prove me wrong. Do it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate anybody who did watch. Again, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like and share the video. Make sure to follow me. Go to liberaldan.com. You can find all the places that you can find me on social media. And please go to the Patreon, patreon.com/liberaldan if you want to both just support the show, support the channel, and you can even buy advertising on my podcast or sponsorships on this podcast as well. Either the podcast or the minicast. There may very well be a new minicast dropping sometime later tonight because this is the 1-year anniversary of the minicast. So check me out on anchor.fm/liberaldan or minicast.liberaldan.com. And of course, the last 2 episodes of the main podcast on blogtalkradio.com/liberaldan. Those last 2 episodes, both I think were like 3 hours apiece. Where a lot of conversation took place on those. The one to end the year, the one to start the year. And the more callers I get, the more people who engage with me on the podcast, I might make those podcasts last longer. And if the podcasts are going to continue to last longer, I will also go ahead and add more available commercial time for y'all to buy as well. But you need to sell out the first ones first. But anyway, again, thank y'all very much. I appreciate your support. Have a happy new year. Mask up, stay socially distanced, protect your fellow human beings. Don't be a domestic terrorist, and have a good day.